All right, it's another exciting video. This one we're going to get more specific in that we want to go deeper into each individual debt collector. I touched upon velocity investments, and that's an easy one to pick on. Here we go, already to the problem, technical problem. But this is going to go a favorite of mine against a company called LVNV Funding, LVNV Funding LLC. So I'm going to tell you who they are, but more specifically who they ain't. That's kind of a weird way of putting it, but LVNV Funding is many things. It's really just the suing arm of a much larger web of intrigue and perhaps deceit or misrepresentation in the context that I'm about to show you. First of all, hello, it's called LVNV Funding. It's based on a casino town. LVNV, has anybody seen that? Even though they're located in South Carolina. So that's a good start. If you are being sued by LVNV Funding, you should dance a jig. Also, whenever you're sued by LVNV Funding, don't look at the amount. Look at the name of the company. And I think that's good advice for most debt buying lawsuits, because a debt buying lawsuit is easy to beat. Going back to my at least four videos I've mentioned, they get this debt for pennies on the dollar. There's not much intrigue as to whether they can prove they own the debt. They can't. But again, the modus operandi or business purpose of a debt collector when it's suing and it's a debt buyer is 9 out of 10 roughly lawsuits will end in default. So why try to prove anything? If one of those 10 is you have to fight a weird guy like me, that's the cost of doing business. Cheers, excuse me. But if you get sued by LVNV Funding, that is like being in the casino, because they give you any kind of hard time, or if they give me any kind of hard time, as an attorney representing a client, you will make money at that case. You don't want to, I guess. You want to get it resolved for your client because that's best for your client and best for everybody. But you can roll the dice, if you will. Maybe I'll just do a casino theme through the whole thing. You'll get lucky sevens. I don't know. I didn't play craps. I played blackjack. A lot of it. But we'll try to do some casino connections because of the LVNV Funding, which is interesting because their name really isn't LVNV Funding. They're a conglomeration of several entities having intercourse and producing this weird company that may or may not exist coming after you. Especially in the state of Michigan, there's hundreds of thousands of these lawsuits filed from LVNV Funding. I used to see a lot of statute of limitation cases from them back in the day, meaning they were suing on some real crap debt that had long passed the statute of limitations. And then a case came down from the Sixth Circuit that said, you can do that, but you must say in any letters to the debtor, which is what they normally do. Prior to suing somebody, LVNV Funding will send out a letter from the law firm representing them, because LVNV Funding kind of doesn't exist. But the case that came down, I don't remember, it's a Sixth Circuit case, or maybe a Seventh Circuit case, that said you got to put in the letter that the debt can't be sued upon. So a statute of limitations case can't be sued upon. And so a debt collector would make threats. Hey, you better pay this or this is going to happen, when legally there was no legal consequence. The best they could do was chase you around. And I would just give clients cease and desist letters, and then if they pursued you again, now you got a case against them. However, this case came down about 10 years ago. I'm struggling to remember it now. That said you got to put it in the letter. So that stopped a lot of statute of limitations lawsuits, sort of. I saw a lot from Stenger and Stenger, and we'll get into that. But generally, if you see LVNV funding, it's I'm going to read this because there's so many. The original creditor is selling the debt to a resurgent capital, maybe to a Sherman originator, 1, 2, or 3, and then to LVNV Funding, or to Sherman Originator LLC, or even Sherman Acquisitions. But eventually along comes the casino king, LVNV Funding. And that's who you're going to sue seeing you. You won't see Resurgent. I did a couple of years ago. It was just slight resurgent. But it's always LVNV Funding. And you should dance a jig. You really should, because it's going to be an easy day for you or for the attorney or the person that's being sued. As I was writing the show notes, and again, this is done under the auspices of informational, educational, sometimes entertainment value, but I'm giving you something regardless of what state you're in to work with. I'm loosening the top of a very tight bottle, and then you can take it from here. Use my information on collectionstopper.com. There is so much there. I build it every day. I add stuff. A great harm. I'm getting up at 6 a.m. to put this stuff on the website, and I don't charge. So go and use my stuff if you want. That's up to you. You do you, but it's there for free. As I was writing this, and I was looking at the conglomeration of all these, if you will, fathers of this debt, and we're going to get into why I'm saying that, resulting in LVNV funding showing up on your doorstep. I heard the expression in my head, and success has many fathers. Failure is an orphan. And this is the opposite of that. This debt you're being sued with and by, with the use of LVNV funding, it has many fathers. The success will be yours. Failure is not an option. I'm trying to mess with this as opposed to orphan. So what I like to think of when I was writing this, I thought, well, there's no success here. I mean, there's no many fathers of success. But what this is oh, what a tangled web we weave when we practice to deceive. And that was the beginning and opening of my video here. There's a lot of deception and misrepresentation. If you don't keep your eye on the dice under the cup, you're not going to be able to predict where it is. And again, the 9 out of 10 rule. They're not going to give you the best because they know they don't have to. So that's where people like me and people like you can come in and take full advantage of that. And what are we taking advantage of? We're taking advantage of assignments that are missing in the chain of title that's just shit. Remember, the strength of any chain is the weakest link. They don't even have a weak link. I'm turning the page like a Bob Seger song. I have attached to my show notes that are to be on collectionstopper.com. Should have worn my glasses. A bill of sale that was attached to a lawsuit with the LVNV funding recently. I'll try and read this. And it went from Credit One to MHC receivables, and then again from Credit One to MHC receivables, LLC, and then from MHC receivables to FNBM, LLC, and then from FNBM LLC to Resurgent. Remember we talked about Resurgent? That's a sort of an arm or a father or a brother of LVNV funding. But hold on, we're not done. it went from MHC receivables to resurgent acquisitions. I don't know if anybody just noticed that, but they jumped over the fact that MHC receivables had already sold it to FNBM, and now MHC receivables is selling it to resurgent acquisitions that also got some or the same debt from FNBM. So MHC receivable is supposed to be weird the way I'm saying this. Has nothing to pass on, even though they're taking up half a page telling the court that they passed some stuff on. And then Resurgent Acquisitions, LLC, sent the stuff over to LVNV Funding, the suing arm. Remember the suing arm, and that's who's going to be showing up on your doorstep. I went and read some stuff for you. I wanted it to be a little convoluted, because that's how you're going to present it to a jury or to the other side or to a judge to resolve this case. Always look at the bill of sale. What I just read to you was 5 at least bill of sale assignments that are just woohoo going in different directions. So always look at your bill of sales, as I've maintained in my How to Defend Against a Debt Collection Lawsuit. You can use their paperwork against them. Again, their 9 out of 10 theory is we'll just attach some stuff and the judge will see a lot of stuff and go our way because the other side's not going to show up. Well, you can use that. They've done all the work for you, all right? So use their stuff and just show, hey, judge, you've got chain of titles going in different directions here. You're going to also look for words in your chain of titles, whether it's LVNV Funding or any other bad debt buyer. You're going to look for the words forward flow agreement. They're in every one, and that's essentially everything that is done in a bill of sale. Everything that's transferred, assigned, is usually said with the following words: pursuant to the forward flow agreement. So they'll name it purchase and sale agreement number 1 in the 5th, 2nd inning, whatever. They have these weird names, man. I'm going to read one to you, and it's what it is. Like in this case, the one I just read to you, their forward flow agreement has the word fresh in it. It's creditor 1 fresh legal recall, and then a bunch of numbers. And hold on to those bunch of numbers. You're going to love what I have to tell you in a little while. You got to stick around if you want some great stuff. So look for the forward flow agreement. You want to have a fun day. If you get to where you haven't settled the LVNV funding case and you're getting to discovery, ask for the forward flow agreement. No debt collector wants to give that bad boy up, and they'll end up creating an order to kind of head you off at the pass that says, hey, we'll give you what you want, it's going to be retracted, but you promise not to give it to anybody. Which is okay, because they're going to say it's trade secrets and all that. But is it really? Because it's they're going to come off like good guys. They're going to go, well, we don't want to give this out, privacy reasons for your client. That's not a good reason. It's a worthy reason in the right situation, but they're not there to protect your client's bill of right of privacy. In fact, their summons has your client's address. And sometimes it says how much is owed, even though nothing is owed until a judge has ruled. So they're already breaching your privacy. They do not want to give out those forward flow agreements because they tell a story that you can take advantage of. There are good attorneys out there that have captured the forward flow agreements in other cases, and there's some out there for LVNV funding, but they protect that like gold. So push. You want to cause problems. What kind of problems? As I said in the past, Parker problems. If you are a problem maker, my name is Brian P. Parker. The P stands for problem. They will like to get you away from them. Just in my, go look at my How to Take a Good Deposition. What do I tell you to do? Get it so that they just want you to go away. And that's good for you, good for your client, good for the court, cleans up the court, and it takes some real shit debt off the market. Because when I settled the case, the release says gonzo. Commonly, in these bill of sales, you're going to find the words receivables or certain account receivables. They use these flowery terms. Why they can't just say bill or account? It has to be certain account receivables. You can win every case just by using the language. You're lawyers. If you're a lawyer, you love hearing and speaking words. If you're like me, I love the analysis and the connections and sometimes the dichotomy of certain words in certain contexts and how things are brought in. And then when a human being speaks those words, it takes on a whole new nuance. And you can, just by the written word alone, have real good fun, because what you're trying to do in these cases, they're assignment of bill of sale cases. And they are only as strong as their weakest link. They don't exist without the weakest link. Pennies on the dollar, remember that. But here's some flowery meaningless statements just from that one lawsuit. This is from one lawsuit. The accounts that are specifically identified in the electric file named Credit One Fresh Legal Recall 01023 with such electronic file incorporated herein by reference. If you're a lawyer reading that, you know what absolute crap. It sort of just went like this, circular nonsense. There's other things, a copy of which is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference as Exhibit A, and 2, certain related account level media or electronic copies thereof. And those aren't words that people to people use. So there's lawyers in there, and there's also a lot of ass protection. I have noticed this more and more with the years. Everything that is written by debt collectors to show they own the debt, they are starting to incorporate legal terms, but also legal rules, like under the MRE in Michigan or FRE 8036, the business records exception. And we have a couple of iterations of that in Michigan, MRE 912, which is just saying if a person isn't showing up to say, yeah, this is true, and by the way, nobody ever shows up, you can do it sworn under oath, which is great because they'll do that and they'll swear under oath stuff that's just not true, generally. So you will see incorporated in these things, watch out for this, and then you can say, hey, I get to dance some more, because it's such wordy nonsense that it conveys information to you that is, I've done that. I remember a Bank of America case. I just read the names of individual businesses that had owned things, and then I just kept repeating those names. It took hours just to tell you what the case was about. Jury was totally, as they say, flummoxed, totally confused. You want that confusion, not to confuse the jury, but to show the jury, why am I confused? Because they haven't done the job they're supposed to do of proving there's an ownership here. If you can't figure something out and it's caused by the people that are presenting something to you as true, then it's not. Now, you've heard the word originator. Let me go back to this bill of sale crap. They talk about debts in terms of accounts, or receivables, or certain receivables, or data files. Remember, as we go into this video, the data file. I'm going to give you something really cool. I'm not doing this because a lot of YouTube videos, they say, hey, if you go all the way to the end, you're going to get this extra. I'm not doing that. I just want to, would you remember and just get back to me? I love doing that. I know you can't. So I'm going to remember to give you something cool about data extensions. I'm not going to wait to the end. I'm going to do it soon. You notice I talked about the weird entities and the many fathers of this bad debt. One of the companies is called Sherman Originator. As far as the LVNV context, originator is an interesting word that they would use because, again, I've been hinting to this for 7 videos now. The concept of securitization starts with the originator, and an originator in securitization is the company you got the loan from or the credit card. That's the originator. You know what? I think doing this hinting on securitization is going to be the better way to eventually land on the video that's coming up, because I'll have kind of gotten you ready. So the word today is originator. The originator in securitization, this is getting really boring. I hope it isn't boring for you, is the loan company. You're the borrower, and then the originator sells the debt to a secure trust or an ABS, an account asset-backed service, or it's actually an entity that is created just to take all this debt off the balance books of the originator, who's trying to get their rate down, their borrowing rate down, by getting rid of all this bad debt. So they put it in a secure trust. That's called securitization. So they call themselves the originator, and debt collectors, debt buyers will do this. They'll try to add a tinge of, or not originality, but genuineness. So that when they're saying, hey, we're the original creditor, or we're the current creditor, hey, our name is originator, so we must be in there somewhere, right, Judge? That's done just as weirdly. They jam legal terms and legal evidence rules into just a chain of title. They're doing it with their eye on the court. They want the court to say, hey, they want to tell the court, look, all this law stuff is in there. It's that simple. Remember, the people that make these decisions aren't necessarily the smartest people, all right? And I'm going to get into that after I get into my next thing that I've been promising you, which you're going to love. Very briefly, in Michigan anyway, there are 3 firms, and then I'll get to the stuff I'm excited about. There are 3, I got a lot of good stuff for you today. And if you're too good about my student loan one, all those friends said it was good, this one's going to be power-packed. There are 3 law firms, at least in Michigan, that do this stuff. Stenger & Stenger, which is the #1 in Michigan. They handle hundreds of thousands of these LVNV cases in about 10 states. Roos & Varchetti, which is out of Mount Clemens, Michigan, and they're kind of hard asses. And then Stillman Law Offices. I don't even want to get into those guys. I had this trial against them once. I mentioned it in the last video. That was who was representing the company that claimed to deserve $25,000 from my client. And that was the firm, Stillman Law Offices, that lost twice at the Court of Appeals to a non-represented client of mine. And they lost twice. And then they did some real evil stuff, in my opinion, after they lost. So they're sort of an unusual entity to deal with. And there's also a Weber and Olsey. Weber and Olsey just gets thrown a bunch of these cases once in a while. Stenger & Stenger, who handles the most of these cases, is the easiest to deal with. Now, so if you're listening to this and you're in Ohio or Indiana or Illinois, you know who Stenger & Stenger is. They're all over the place. Roos & Varchetti is down in Georgia somewhat, maybe in Florida, but they're in Michigan, and they're the hard asses, but they can be reached in a human way for my clients, at least for me. But that took fights and fights where they're banging me and I'm banging them. We got the Krav Maga. That was actually my Taekwondo. Krav is like this. So Weber and Olsey are nice to deal with. They'll just let it go away if it's under $10,000. All right. those are your firms. I want to talk about data extensions. What the hell is a data extension? The data extension is like you and me counting cards. You come to the blackjack table and you've learned how to count cards. Your odds of winning, we're still keeping this casino motif because this is about LVNV funding. I learned how to count cards. It made it easier. It took the fun out of it. But I wanted to use some analogy. So data extensions are like counting cards in debt collection. What do I mean? Well, I'm not a computer genius. My kids are. And I had a client once that was into data extensions. And he had a PR case against him. And he took the bill of sale that referenced a file. So the bill of sale I've been talking about, if this gets boring, I'm so sorry, but it's really good stuff. In every ownership proof bill of sale in this last file, and by the way, I've attached these titles, these bill of sale titles, and the actual lawsuit from Stillman Law to my show notes, which will be on the website. And all the way through everybody claiming to own the debt, there was this credit one, underline, fresh, underline, legal recall, underline, 012023, identified as the electronic file that held debts. Now, by the way, another cool thing, there's never any proof of your client's specific debt. So if you go to my website and look at the tons of answers I have, it'll say the specific debt of defendant is not recognized or shown anywhere. They'll add nonsense. I'm going to tell you about that nonsense where they, again, try to be legitimate, but here's how I caught them. For example, credit one, fresh, legal recall, 01023, whatever. It doesn't have a data extension. So if it was a PDF, it'd go all those words .pdf. It doesn't have that. And then they'll refer to a file saying this is your client's debt, and it'll say credit one, fresh, legal recall, 012023, then maybe docs or something like that. That's not the same as the PDF. If you look for extensions, I got to do this in a way. I'm going to get into putting stuff on the screen for you. But the cool thing is they'll have what they call a sale file. And a sale file is where they're going to claim. Remember we talked about they call it certain account receivables, accounts, charged off debts. They always have these names and they say, attached, here's the file, Exhibit A. And sometimes it's not. But it has to have the same data extension. So if the bill of sale says blah, 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 .dat, the file they refer to claiming this shows your client's debt must have the exact same nomenclature .dat with the file extension. And they rarely do. In that client I was talking about that gave me this great idea. This is why you talk to your clients. If you just spend 5 minutes with your clients, you may have a practice unknown to you prior to talking to the client. And this is how I've settled hundreds of cases just with the following. And you could too. Look for the data extensions. Now I'm going to tell you what the show notes say. So I showed you in my client's case a sale file that says EAST.BPSLE202-00108 underscore BN0016 underscore main, MAIN, .dat. They claim that's your client's debt, and here's the bill of sale, and that has none of that. It has the same and similar numbers, but the data extensions are of the following: .gc, .gz, .gc. That GZ was not on the first one I said to you. And without the same data extension, the point is the sale file is not in the bill of sale they're claiming if the data extension is not the same. Keep it that simple. I was thinking, you know what, I'll do an hour's worth of research on data extensions. It'll take me half an hour to read it, half an hour to learn it. I thought, just do it simple, stupid like you are. And so just look for dot data extension. Is it .pdf in the bill of sale? Is it .pdf in the actual proof, what they call a sale file, to show, yep, look at Exhibit A, that's where your client's file it. And it never is. It's a real easy thing to do. I think the 9 out of 10 theories are like, I don't care, we'll just put something. Well, you can care and make a good living and help a lot of people with this data extension. I hope what I'm saying makes some sense. Look at my show notes. It's better to read than listen to this. But look at those files that I was just talking about. They will create what's a phony spreadsheet. And I've said in the past, I've gone to trial where they're claiming my client's name on a piece of paper that doesn't mean anything. I got to do this for you. Okay, I'm going to tell you something really weird. So I've gone to trial and changed my client's name to Mickey Mouse and presented it as evidence until someone figured it out. And when I get caught, I get yelled at. But then I say to the court, I just want to prove a point. This is total hearsay. I can change the name. They can make up anything. There's no independent person validating this stuff. And that's why you see them taking an evidence rule, MRE, let's say, or FRE 803, which is a hearsay 6. So the rule against hearsay is 803, an out-of-court statement offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted. I can't believe I remembered that. That's the general rule. You can't bring stuff in if it's out of court and say, yeah, it says it right there, Your Honor. It's got to be validated, right? So you learn there's like 23 exceptions. One is the business records exception. You have to go through a certain procedure to qualify for that because it's an exception. They put that right in the bill of sale already, so it kind of, see, it's already validated, and then they do the hearsay stuff, but they figure they put it in the bill of sale. It's good, right? And these aren't bright people that are putting this stuff together and making millions. The thing I just remembered, and it's not in my notes, but I like to riff because it's good for you, and it's 30 years, always more than 30 minutes. This is going to get really weird what I'm about to say. But work with me. They say they own a debt. They have paperwork that is so bad and so hearsay. And I try to tell courts this, but judges, to a man and woman, they'll go, well, there's an exception. An exception is a word that says generally it's not coming in. It's an exception, right? So 9 out of 10 of these lawsuits are going to get in default. The exception is one of them isn't, if you got Parker on your side or you. That doesn't mean all 10 will be resolved because it's just an exception Parker's coming in. But for some reason, things are turning around where the exception is eating the general rule. Everything comes in these days. And debt collectors know this and foster this by putting the rules of evidence in their bill of sale. It's kind of cool. And then it's not. Because it makes my job harder if the judge is lazy. See my video on why judges do what they do. Which, by the way, I respect good judges just as I respect good people. But that goes into how some are better than others. Just like plumbers, electricians, and lawyers. But this thing I'm about to say to you is gonna, if you don't think I'm weird already, you're gonna think I'm weird. But someone says they got a debt, they bought the debt, they're suing on the debt. Where's the debt? And they go, well, here it is. It says right there, Bob owes the debt. I said, no, it's a piece of paper with ink. Where's the debt? Think about that for a second. Where is the debt that's being sued upon? If I wanted to buy the debt for you, how do I get it? Well, we press this button and a file extension and you get this. But I'm just getting a computer blurb that's greatly hearsay, that's typed by some guy next. And I've seen that, where they type the wrong numbers or something, because they don't care. They're just typing crap and nobody looks. But as lawyers, as people of curiosity, you can find gold. So what is a debt? A debt is an obligation to pay somebody that you borrowed money from. Let's call it that. And the FDCPA specifically outlines what a debt is. The Regulation of Michigan Collection Practices will outline what a debt is, what a consumer is. All the statutes do, whatever your state is. Good state statute in Florida, by the way, first. Better than the FDCPA. Anyway, if you're in a deposition, ask him, where's the proof of the debt? Well, there it is. It's written down. But isn't that just a piece of paper with ink on it? Well, yeah. What do you want us to do? Bring the debt? Yeah, I'd like that. I've never seen a debt before. Think about it for a second. Have you ever seen a debt before? We're all going on faith that the debt is what we say it is. Well, that's the point of discovery, right? But as I pointed out in my deposition videos, go where no man has gone before. And literally, at the beginning of my deposition video, I talked in terms of why someone believes God is going to protect them, but also get them out of telling the truth. Go where no man has gone before. Be the exception. If it's going to swallow up the rule, like I said in my other video about defending debt collection, I won this great case and it had the name of my client. I kind of invented a rule. I put it on every answer, and I'm probably the guy that does more of this in Michigan. So it started to get in the court system, and now soon judges were asking for let's call it the Parker rule. They were asking debt collectors, well, you haven't qualified under the Parker rule. It kind of wasn't that, but it was if you looked at the case. It goes both ways. So we're getting too easily fooled by typed words on a page. Exceptions are eating the general rule. All right, you can fight it, or you can, as I always counsel in your personal life and your legal life, lean into stuff. It's much better than fighting stuff. Trust me on that. 61, trust me. So ask, where is the debt? Well, here it is. That's not a debt, that's a piece of paper. Just in that deposition, force the issue. It's kind of weird, and you got to be weird, but I think you're probably weird in another way that you can help your client with. Lean into your eccentricities. That's a running theme through my videos to you. Lean into who you are, please. If you're not fighting yourself, you're loving yourself, and loving yourself is the beginning of everything. Love who you are and be the weirdness. Trust me. You'll be successful. There are 3 firms in Michigan, like I said. They all take LVNV funding. It's a monster account they don't want to lose. So if you Parker problem them, they're going to want you to go away, because eventually the stuff rises, goes up the chain. And people ask questions. Why are you letting Parker do those things? What do you mean he wants to depose me? They look at their lawyers as like a huge wall preventing any kind of curiosity or analysis or inquisition, because if a debtor owes money, we're the good guys. Even though there's no basis of fact as to why the client owes anybody anything, clients are bad, they owe money. That's what they say to themselves. And they're so insulted when you ask, can you just show me why my client... they really get in your grill. So they'll have a bad law firm to come after you. Sometimes I'll get a third law firm will just show up just for and they'll tell me, we're here just to cause you problems. As I said in another video, celebrate when someone wants to come in because you did this weird thing. It's all about response, man. Enjoy your brain and this business for the opportunities it gives you. Like I said, go into this weird area about religion, or maybe you don't want to do that. Or what is a debt? There's fruit there. If you go to different areas, you're going to get different responses and you can learn. If you get like really scared responses, hey man, I got something there. And that usually comes about when the gal or guy in charge of LVN Funding and directing, he or she is called the liaison. He directs the whole state, and I depose, the whole country. Each lawyer has got to file this case, and they send them all over. I depose these guys. They're not qualified. They're clueless. What does that do? It makes them vastly unindependent, but dependent on the lawyers. And the lawyers, if they're not on the up and up, will tell the person in charge or the liaison, yeah, everything's going fine. So when I depose them, when I depose those people, I bring out the lawyer's lawsuit and go, why did you do this? I don't say, why did they, the law firm. I say, you. Hey, I didn't do that. Well, you did this and you broke the law. No, that was my law firm. I want them to know what their law firm is up to and to put them on the stretching. What came to my mind was it's a very old 1500s way of torturing people, the stretching table. I want to do that to the people I depose that are causing my client problems. I just want them to see what their lack of interest in what their law firms are doing. I show them because they're generally clueless and they trust their law firms more than they should. The easiest one in Michigan to deal with is Stenger and Singer. They're very pragmatic. They'll see me coming, and if it's under 10,000, they'll just blow it off and say, "Go ahead, Parker. You win." I've gotten up to over 30,000 without identifying the amount, just wiped out by them, rather than fight me. Be a Parker problem, so you can be a Parker solution for your lovely, lovely clients. Stenger, by the way, uses the mini Miranda, 1692E11, puts it right in their lawsuits, right on the summons, and says, we are debt collectors. Anything you say will be used for that purpose. If they're representing Citibank, which they generally are, they just called Citibank and caused Citibank a shitload of problems, because now Citibank's a debt collector when they were protected from the FDCPA by being an original creditor. I delve into that. You go find your own things or that to delve into. Look at my answers on collectionstopper.com. The key to winning LVNV funding cases is the chain of freaking title. It's so bad. Go look at my show notes and see Resurgent's original creditor, something, this guy and this guy, Sherman Acquisitions, eventually down to LV. There's so much fruit there for you to pick and eat and enjoy. Also, I believe that LVNV Funding has no right to pursue these cases, even though they're the plaintiff. So push on that. The best thing you can do, if you have to, is discovery. Depose that liaison or the affidavit. The affiant attached to the lawsuit is clueless. As I said in previous videos, look for the deer in the headlights. That's my favorite. This last one I did, she took 15 minutes of pure deer in headlights. And we all were like, could you please answer? Even her attorney's like, hello, Miss Smith. She thought if she didn't say anything, she was safer that way. And that's, as you know from my deposition videos, you make them just regret saying anything until they have to, and then they become someone that just wants you out of their life. So her approach was, and she didn't say anything for like 15 minutes, claiming to be thinking. So we all had to just really kind of kick her in the butt. And I wanted that so she could say more stupid stuff that just hurt her. She was an affiant that's attached to many cases in the state of Michigan, and she admitted, I don't write these affidavits, the attorneys do. It's sign here, sign here. And I made her tell me everything in line by line. Did you write that? No. Why did you say it's true then? And then there's that 15-minute deer in the headlights. It's fun. You got to use this, man. Go where no man has gone before. If it's LVNV or anybody else, if you're feeling comfortable, go work for your uncle. I love that expression. If you don't recognize that these people will really do bad things to your client if you don't stand in the way, then go work for your uncle. But, how do I put this? The amount of effort of being horrible and nasty to your client, put that energy and effort in your role of twisting the knife and of messing with them so they have to answer a question that's going to kill their case. They'll go away real fast. Be a Parker problem. Change your middle name to something beginning with P, and it's not persuasive unless you're in front of a judge. It's Brian Problem Parker. Counterclaims should be filed in every answer you do with a debt collection buying lawsuit. The only reason you wouldn't is that you send an email to the lawyer and go, I'll give you 7 days to settle this, or I'm filing a counterclaim. I'm trying to save us both money, Bob. And that's a good thing to say. It's malpractice, I believe, generally not to have if you're an attorney who just files an answer, wrong answer. Rookie malpractice move, as I said. Rookie. You must file a counterclaim. And then you file your discovery. Discovery is the key to these things if they go that far. Why they go that far, even though I banged them away, is because a new liaison or a new clueless guy comes in that's in charge of everything, and he wants to show the world how strong he is. Boy, do I make money off that. But if they're filing lawsuits where the chain of title, as it always is just shit, therefore they violate the FDCPA. One thing I just want to throw this in. When you settle a case, make sure the release says the debt will be eliminated. Now, they can't guarantee that debt, to be fair to them, that the credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion will do as they're asked, but they must say in the release, we will make attempts to get this debt eliminated. It's a nice thing to add to your client. So I like to give my clients 3 things. Number 1, eliminate the debt. Number 2, dismiss the case. Number 3, and clients love this, eliminate the debt off the credit. And even if it doesn't come off, because you have a dismissal with prejudice, you can do a dispute letter and say, hey, that shouldn't be on the credit report. It's dismissed with prejudice. Can't be brought again, doesn't exist, blah, 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 blah. You offer your clients a trilogy of benefits. So make sure you're released, because I know you're going to settle these cases and you're going to do great and you're going to make money for yourself if you follow the rules. Be a Parker problem. So this started out as LVNV Funding. Who is LVNV Funding? And it ends, be a Parker problem. You know what? You could probably say be a Parker problem to every freaking video, because that's the nature of my success. My success. Yay. But I'm a really happy person. I love what I do. I love helping people. I had a lady call me yesterday, just lost her husband, and she discovered that he rang up all this debt without, it's not funny, telling her, and he'd been doing it for several years. I actually did a little medical analysis on him. He had a heart issue. And without saying any names, but my theory was the blood was less oxygenated going to his brain. You take the oxygen away from the brain, it's going to die. And she has figured out that, even though I'm not a doctor, she said, you're right. It all started after this heart attack he had where his heart wasn't pumping as well as it. And then he just kept ringing up debt for her. She was in tears. Ringing up debt for her without telling her, in her name. And she loved this man. In fact, I even said this, without identifying anybody. How many years were you married? 25. How many years were you in love? And she said 23. Wow. So she loved this man. But after the heart attack, things went haywire. He went haywire. The brain was, and that caused discord in their love. Where am I going with this? So she's in tears. But I got her to talk about the love as opposed to the last 2 years. It maybe wasn't his fault. And up until that conversation, yeah, I'm patting myself on the back. She was kind of hating him. She just buried him. And she was not happy with him. She was able to celebrate the 23. I then told her one of my jokes. I have 2 jokes. One is dirty, one isn't. I told her the one, obviously, that's, I'm not going to tell a dirty joke to a grieving widow. And she liked the joke. And at the end of the conversation, the grieving widow crying became happy. We were on the phone for half an hour. I got her to realize her husband was good. What am I saying to you? Yeah, I'm the greatest. I'm not. In fact, I'm so not that I try to make other people happy to make myself happy. I don't know if that's good or bad. I like making people happy. You can make people happy with this work. It goes to the very essence of who they are. Money. Where's the money coming from? People perceive debt collectors as knocking at their door, and it's really bad. It still is. You can be the solution. I'm really riffing now. I promise you, this is the most satisfying work you can do. And if you spend that 5 minutes learning about your client, for example, go in on that data extension stuff. I got that from spending 5 minutes with a guy. Now, I regularly contact him and send him a bill of sale and what they claim to be something holding my client's debt. And I've learned so much about file extensions. It's 3 letters. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars off 3 letters. Please take that information. I'll sit you down for 2 hours if you want to email me and give you a practice where you will next year make at least $50,000 more. That's anybody listening to this, you want to call me, I'll sit you down for an hour, I won't charge you. I'll show you how to make $50,000 next year. Doing what? Helping people. And your heart and your soul will be fed. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I got to bring this to an end because I'm thirsty and I got clients to take care of. But this work is good. This gets me excited going after these bad guys that 9 out of 10 are getting away with some bullshit. Excuse me, my language today. Go make people happy. You'll make yourself happy. Your soul will grow. And remember, soul is a 4-letter word. Go to collectionstopper.com. Podcast Plus, chock full of good stuff. It's all free. You can make $50,000 just from looking at my stuff because you'll take all this advice and incorporate it into your business, and now you're serving people and you're serving yourself, and clients will refer you. Go look at my reviews. There's tons there what a great guy is. I think I'm a pretty good guy. I need work personally, but in my work, I kind of make my clients my friends because I'm messed up. I've actually made clients today are some of my best friends that we check in with each other all the time. I created an entire website once for one client. And I won't tell you where it is because I'm ashamed of it. I typed it, there's typos and stuff. It was based on one client, and it was like, this lamb took on these hungry wolves and won. I'll get it into some other videos. It's the same way I'll get into securitization. So go after collectionstopper.com. There's videos, there's podcasts, there's free forums. If you're not an attorney, go at it. Help yourself. You'll save yourself $50,000 or whatever plight you're in. Please subscribe to this so we can get the word out. I'm not making any money from this. I'm actually losing money, but I'm winning inside, man. And I like this kind of creative expression. I'm sorry if this riffing is a pain. What are we up to? 55 minutes. Sorry, folks. I'm sorry. So subscribe, like me, because I love you and I want to help you. And collectionstopper.com. I am ending now. I thank you. I hope I looked at the camera a lot more today. I probably didn't. But I'm helping you, I hope. Thank you.